It's not easy being drunk all the time. Everyone would do it if it were easy.
Here's a quick overview of the show. Game of Thrones was a fantasy drama series that aired on HBO from 2011 to 2019. The show is adapted from the novel series A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, which is about a medieval country's civil war. The first of the books, titled A Game of Thrones, and the show was created by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. The show has millions of devoted fans, 269 Emmy Awards, 7 Kingdoms, 8 seasons, and 73 episodes that are available to stream on Crave in Canada or on HBO streaming service in the USA. Here I'll talk about the characters. Wish me luck. The ensemble cast on Game of Thrones is estimated to be the largest on television. The star-studded cast includes Peter Dinklage, who won an Emmy for his role as Tyrion Lannister, as well as Lena Headey, Natalie Dormer, Emilia Clarke, Kit Harington, Aidan Gillen, Nicolás Coster-Waldau, Charles Dance, and Maisie Williams. So now I'll cover the royal families that are essentially fighting for the throne that you may want to keep an eye on. House Stark. Lord Eddard Stark, who's also known as Ned, is the head of House Stark, who is played by Sean Bean. House Stark is one of the main focal points of the storylines and plots throughout the series. Ned and his wife Catelyn Tully, played by Michelle Fairley, have 5 children, from eldest to youngest: Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon. They are the Lords of Winterfell in the north. Robb Stark is the oldest boy and beloved by all. Strong, intelligent, and loyal, a cruel twist of fate ultimately forces him to lead the rebellion against the treacherous Lannisters. Arya Stark is very tough, independent, vengeful. Unlike her sister Sansa, Arya absolutely loves to fight and is driven by her thirst for revenge. At the beginning of the show, Sansa Stark is a quintessential little girl that's only dreaming about her impending marriage to Prince Joffrey Baratheon.
I have a son, you have a daughter. We'll join our houses.
It's not long before her dreams turn into a nightmare though, and despite a torturous and abusive journey, Sansa finally takes control and emerges as one of the most fierce and badass characters. Ned has an illegitimate bastard son named Jon Snow, who is played by Kit Harington, and he's sent to serve in the Night's Watch, where he meets his best friend Samwell Tarly, who is played by John Bradley. They serve under Commander Jorah Mormont, who is played by James Cosmo. Jon's leadership, strength, and bravery sees him rising very quickly in the Night's Watch order, but a trip beyond the wall proves to be fateful. Ned Stark is an honorable man who fought by King Robert Baratheon's side to overrule the Targaryen dynasty.
You helped me win the Iron Throne, now help me keep the damn thing. We were meant to rule together.
He is the first season's main character. He travels south to serve as the king's main advisor.
Lord Eddard Stark, I would name you the Hand of the King.
Have you ever heard the phrase, rich as a Lannister? Of course you have. You're a smart man.
House Lannister. The Lannisters include Tywin, who is the father of Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion Lannister. Cersei is the queen, who is one of the main antagonists of the series. She is conniving, manipulating, and vengeful, and will do anything for her family, especially her children. Jaime is the man who killed the Mad King, forever known as the Kingslayer, has one of the best arcs throughout the show as his character evolves from outright villain to something of an anti-hero. Tyrion is a dwarf, who is Tywin's youngest child.
I am Tyrion, son of Tywin of Clan Lannister.
How would you like to die, Tyrion, son of Tywin?
In my own bed, at the age of 80, with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth around my cock.
Tyrion's mother was killed while giving birth to him. Arguably the funniest character in the show because his one-liners and quick wit are sharper than any sword.
What about you, my lord? What's the strangest thing you've eaten?
Do Dornish girls count?
I'm not a cripple.
Then I'm not a dwarf. My father will rejoice to hear it.
This being said, you'll be absolutely hooked by Tyrion's frayed relationship with the other members of his entire family. The Lannisters are known for their wealth and army, and one thing that you won't forget about the Lannisters is that a Lannister always pays its debts.
There will be no betting ceremony.
There will be, if I command it.
Then you'll be fucking your own bride with a wooden cock.
What did you say?
House Baratheon. Robert Baratheon rules as king of the Seven Kingdoms. Robert led the rebellion that disposed the Mad King and his Targaryen dynasty. He spends his reign as king drinking and sleeping with whores.
I'm trying to get you to run my kingdom while I eat, drink, and haul my way to an early grave.
Robert is married to Queen Cersei Lannister after a political alliance that merged their families to eventually defeat and dethrone the Mad King. Robert has 3 children, the eldest and heir of King Robert being Joffrey Baratheon. Joffrey is spoiled, arrogant, cowardly, childish, and sadistic, though he tends to hide these traits as he appears to be the typical charming heir to the 7 kingdoms.
I'll gut you, you little cunt!
He has 2 younger siblings, Marcella and Tommen Baratheon. Robert has 2 younger brothers, Stannis and Renly. Stannis knows a secret about Cersei Lannister as he tries to fight to claim the throne throughout the first few seasons. He's aided by Melisandre of Versailles, who is known as the Red Woman. She is the lead advisor of Stannis, and she has visions of the future and has demonstrated some magical powers that may or may not include black magic. Renly is the kinder, much softer younger brother. He as well made a brief play for the Iron Throne as he united with House Tyrell to gain a bigger, more powerful army. House Tyrell. The Tyrells, like the Lannisters, are one of the wealthiest houses in the 7 kingdoms. Marjorie Tyrell is played by Natalie Dormer, and we first see her appear as Renly Baratheon's wife. Her character is known to be a master of manipulation. Her brother is Loras Tyrell, who is a skilled jouster and swordsman. Olenna Tyrell is the elderly matriarch of House Tyrell and a true master of manipulation. House Greyjoy. Theon Greyjoy is technically a hostile of Ned Stark because his father, Balon Greyjoy, had earlier led a failed uprising against King Robert. Theon ends up becoming a close friend of Ned's son Robb, where you see him at the beginning of the show by his side.
It's done, Your Grace. Targaryens are gone.
Not all of them.
House Targaryen. Daenerys Targaryen, also known as Dany, is played by Emilia Clarke, and she is easily recognizable by her braided white blonde hair. Her father is the Mad King, who was dethroned by Robert Baratheon and killed by Jaime Lannister. She wants to retake the throne for herself, but begins the show as a shy and humble character until the dragon in her is awoken. Her plotline includes freeing slaves and building her army.
Dracarys.
Here are some other important characters that don't belong to royal families. Khal Drogo is played by Jason Momoa, who is an important character to start the show as he marries Daenerys. Peter Baelish, also known as Littlefinger in the show, he's played by Aidan Gillen, and he owns a brothel in King's Landing and seems to be connected to absolutely everyone. He has a massive spy network that keeps him updated on everything going on in the city and in the realm. Varys, the ultimate spy of King's Landing. Varys often trades information with Littlefinger, a quiet and manipulative presence. His duty is to serve the king of the 7 kingdoms. Here are the other names that are important in the storylines that you probably should remember, but we don't have time to go over each and every one in depth. Sandor Clegane, also known as the Hound, Brienne of Tarth, Hodor, House Martell, The Mountain, Maester Luwin, the Stark's direwolves, Arya's direwolf, Nymeria, Sansa's direwolf, Lady, Rickon's direwolf, Shaggy Dog, Bran's direwolf, Summer, Robb's direwolf, Grey Wind, and probably the most recognizable direwolf, Jon's ghost. So here I'm going to go into depth of the 3 main plot points in the show. The Lord of Westeros. The fight to claim the Iron Throne is the main plot point of the show. The most important families to know are the Baratheons, the Lannisters, and the Starks. Robert Baratheon is the king of the 7 kingdoms to start the show, and he's married to Cersei Lannister. They have 3 children who are surrounded by controversy. Joffrey is the eldest, and is one of the main villains in the show. In my opinion, one of the most hated characters in all of TV. Props to Jack Leeson who plays Joffrey. King Robert Baratheon is best friends with Ned Stark. These 2 families get along, but the Lannisters do not get along with the Starks. King Robert is often seen stuck in between the Lannister and Stark feud.
She's as wild as an animal of hers. I want her punished.
What would you have me do? Whip her through the streets? Damn it, children fight. It's over.
The Last Targaryen. Before the series began, there was a time where the Targaryen family reigned over Westeros for hundreds of years. Aerys, dubbed the Mad King for reasonable reasons. He burned enemies alive, tortured the world with the power of dragons until they were extinct. The Mad King's children fled to the continent of Essos when the Targaryens lost the throne to House Baratheon. 17 years later is when the series began, and we are introduced to the Mad King's living descendants, Viserys and Daenerys Targaryen. Viserys is the older brother of Daenerys, who he tries to sell off to the tribal leader of Khal Drogo, who Viserys wants on his side in war to reclaim the throne.
I want what I came for. I want the crown he promised me. He bought you, but he never paid for you.
North of the Wall, the northern border of Westeros is marked by a gigantic wall of ice.
Welcome.
The wall is guarded by the Brothers of the Night's Watch, who swore a vow of complete devotion to defend the southern kingdoms from threats beyond the wall. One threat that they guard against is the Wildings, the native people who live far north. They're viewed as savages by those in the south, yet there's another more dangerous threat beyond the wall. The White Walkers, creatures of ice and winter that can reanimate the dead. Most people in the South are unaware of magic's existence and believe the White Walkers to be creatures of legend, gone for thousands of years. But the first scene of the show indicates that they do exist and they're coming. The main character in this plotline is Jon Snow, as you follow his journey of gaining respect at Castle Black with the Brothers of the Night's Watch. Other plotlines include following Ned Stark's children around the realm as they face many conflicts. Brandon Stark is left recovering from a close to fatal fall to learning about the Three-Eyed Raven. Arya and Sansa join their father at King's Landing, where things get complicated, and Robb takes the lead as the Warden of the North in his father's absence while Catelyn aids him. Alright, here's my opinion. Simply put, Game of Thrones is a cultural phenomenon that swept the world like wildfire. You'll be immersed in the gripping plot and epic action, but there's far more to it than that. Jaw-dropping battles, superb characters, great acting, and wonderful writing are all on offer. This is storytelling on the most epic scale because the storytelling, scenery, and special effects are unlike anything that you've ever seen before. The show comes with controversial decisions at the end, which gave me a bit of a bad lasting impression for a conclusion, but if it weren't for that final season, I may have declared it as the greatest show of all time. Okay, here's my review. This review is based on these 5 categories out of 10. The criteria is based on the plot, the overall story of the show, unpredictable, fun, and engaging. The characters are based on if they're memorable, developed, original, and they evoke emotion. The climax is the build-up to the conclusion. Is it fulfilling, unpredictable, and enjoyable? The cast and acting is based on the variety of actors and actresses, the awards given, and the overall believability. Originality is what differentiates itself from its predecessors. It's gotta be creative, fresh, quality content. So I gave the plot a 10 out of 10, the characters a 10 out of 10, the climax I gave a 4, acting was a 10, the originality a 10. Gives the overall score a 8.8 out of 10. Here's my recommendation. So I would not recommend if you can't remember a lot of characters. The series has a lot of characters and kingdoms. If you don't like violence, there's a lot of blood and murder. If you don't like adult scenes, it's full of sex scenes. If you are a sensitive person, then you'll cry when your favorite character dies because they will most likely die. If a fulfilling good ending is important to you, I would stay away from at least the final season. It's rough. But here's who I'd recommend it to. If you enjoy a good, compelling story, you like amazing character development and acting, you enjoy shows and movies that are based on novels, which are based on really good writing. If you look for high production value and quality visual effects. If you enjoy geeky content that includes dragons, kings, mythical creatures, medieval battles, and more. Now thanks for watching all the way to the end of Before You Binge. Hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for the Post-Binge Podcast where we talk all spoilers about the show. And there's so much to talk about with Game of Thrones, especially that ending. Support the channel by following us on social media in the description below, and remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment below. In the meantime, stay safe and continue binge watching.